Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I can see a few of you who are trickling in and joining. So good to have you here. We're very excited today. We have another Power Pack Masterclass brought to you today by Michigan State University's Eli Broad College of Business. For those of you who are just joining in, we really want to know where our audiences are coming in from today. So in the chat window, could you just let us know which city are you dialing in from? So very quickly in the chat window, if you could just let us know which city you're dialing in from, really helps us understand where the audience is coming in from today. So we have someone who's coming from Guntur, we have someone from Delhi, from Maharashtra, uh, Nagpur. Wow, students from the length and breadth of the country. So while you keep that going, I'm going to speak a little bit about what today's session entails. Like I said, today's session is brought to you by Michigan State University's Eli Broad College of Business. We are going to be talking about how you can leverage your MBA with proven strategies, mastering the path to consulting success. So, quite a few exciting things that you will be learning about today, or you will be taking away from the session today is number one is, of course, leveraging an MBA for consulting success, getting some industry insights from the experts here, some career management strategies, and also what are some tips that or tricks that you can do to sort of stand out in the competitive market. And of course, learn a lot more about the university, their programs, offerings, etc. So, to give you a very brief introduction about the university today, the Broad College of Business at Michigan State University is a top ranked institute renowned for its strong focus on experiential learning. It offers globally uh, connected undergraduate, MBA, and executive programs with a 90% postgraduate employment rate, preparing future leaders like yourself to have really impactful careers. A very quick introduction to the panel. I will start with myself. My name is Sabahat Herzog. I'm the Associate Director at Seed Global Education. We're a UK headquartered company which facilitates interactions between top global universities like the one that we have here with us today and prospective students like yourself, giving you a chance to connect with the faculty, with people from the universities, and thereby helping you in making informed decisions about your higher education and career plans. Joining me today is Adam Merrill. Hi, Adam. Adam is the Senior Associate Director of Consulting Career Initiatives at Michigan State University's Eli Broad College of Business, where he prepares students for successful consulting careers. He has a very impressive bio with over 13 years of leadership in talent acquisition, including roles at Deloitte, AWS. Adam brings expertise in talent strategy, pipeline development, and data-driven recruitment to support Broad's mission of cultivating future business leaders. Along with him, we also have Kate Irvine. Hi, Kate. Kate is the Associate Director of the Full-Time MBA Admissions at Michigan State University, a position that she's held since 2019. She holds a BA in advertising from Michigan State University and has completed her master's in digital marketing at ISD in Madrid, Spain. That is a lot, and I'm sure you all are very excited to learn more. But before we get started, I want to run a quick poll question for you to get an understanding of what your area is of interest. So, very quickly, on the screen in front of you is our first poll question for this evening. What is your primary goal for attending this masterclass? Are you someone who wants to learn about consulting career paths after an MBA? Are you someone who's looking to get insights into the consulting recruitment process? Are you someone who wants to understand the skills and experience needed for consulting roles? Or are you someone who's more keen to learn about the programs and offerings? Or are you someone who's looking to know all of the above and much more? I know for a fact that I want to know all of this and much more. So, very quickly on the screen in front of you is our first poll question for this evening. I hope you all can hear me clearly. If you could let us know which of these options are best suited for you. I'm going to keep the poll running for a little bit longer before I end it and hand over to Adam. So on the screen in front of you is the first poll question. For those of you who have just tuned in, please let us know, what is your primary goal for attending this masterclass today? With that, I'm going to end the poll question and share the results on the screen in front of you. 47% of you really want to know all of the above, closely followed by the others. And today will be the perfect opportunity for you to gain insights into all of this. So without further ado, I now hand over the floor to Adam. Adam, if you could please take us away with your learnings.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Adam Merrill, Senior Associate Director of Consulting Career Initiatives here at the Broad College. I joined the university back in May, and prior to that, I spent the majority of my career split across Deloitte Consulting, Amazon Web Services, and at Curtis & Co. Consulting as well. I've truly enjoyed this role where I work across both our education and our corporate relationship teams, where I'm helping to both steer corporations towards our students and help better educate our students on what they need to be doing to prepare themselves for a career in consulting. Get the slide over here about me. So let's do a quick introduction and just talk about what is consulting, right? So people use to throw the term around quite loosely, but at the end of the day, consulting is when an organization is being brought in to help another organization achieve their goals, improve their performance, strategize and plan for the future. More often than not, this work involves both an industry vertical and a service line vertical. So when I say service line vertical, we're talking about strategy, operations, technology, M&A due diligence, and then you also have your vertical from an industry perspective as well. So you might be doing a strategy project in life sciences. You might be doing a technology project for a supply chain company where you're helping them implement a new ERP system. So there's a wide range of work that can be done there. Getting into kind of the why consulting and why folks might be interested in a career in consulting. Really, if you're someone that likes to do a wide variety of things, and if you're someone that can get bored with the monotony of a certain job, working in consulting is fantastic because you're able to try out a lot of different work for a lot of different companies. I tell a lot of folks that, hey, if you know you want to go into business, but you're not sure exactly what you want to do in business, consulting is the best way for you to get exposure to a wide opportunity of outcomes in different industries and really build out relationships there. There's a lot of fun benefits to working in consulting as well. If you like travel, normally you're able to leverage a pretty nice expense account, lots of hotel miles, frequent flyer miles. I know personally from when I worked for Deloitte Consulting, as my wife did as well, we used all of the miles that we acquired from work to pay for our entire honeymoon. So there's certainly some great opportunities there. The large firms in particular do also pay top dollar for talent. Outside of private equity and some of the other banking type jobs, these are typically the roles where we see people getting the most coming out of our programs. And then it has excellent long-term career opportunities. Some folks stay in the industry for a long time and grow up into the partnership. Others find great exit opportunities, more often than not going to work for clients that they worked with previously and have been able to kind of prove the values that they add there. And it really, in those instances, it's providing an accelerated career path, if you will. Every year of consulting experience is kind of viewed, depending on the industry, as 2 or 3 years in other industries. So it's certainly well perceived and gives you a lot of opportunity on the other side as well. So before we get more into kind of like the MBA path and the steps to get in, let's talk a little bit more just about kind of the management consulting industry and what that structure looks like. So the 3 probably most well-known legacy strategy consulting firms from around the world would be McKinsey, Bain, and BCG. These are not necessarily the largest firms, but they tend to take on the largest projects and have the highest billables. These 3 are definitely the hardest to get into. That said, I can speak for Broad, we have alum at all of them. We have partner alum at all of them. It's a really great opportunity, but I will say also that's where you are likely to work the hardest and probably have the least control of your work-life balance. After that, we have tier 2 firms such as Accenture, Oliver Wyman, and Kearney. They also take on very large projects. Their billables are not quite as high as the big 3. They don't necessarily have a specific industry niche, but they do have industries that they might play more so in than others. Accenture is definitely a lean for technology consulting. Kearney is a lean for supply chain consulting. Then we also have the Big 4, all of which are attached to the legacy Big 4 accounting firms. These are some of the biggest firms in the world. I think at current headcount, Deloitte is the biggest, but these are great opportunities. And one of the really nice advantages to these firms is the kind of the diversity that they offer as a professional services firm. So as there are ebbs and flows in certain types of work, they've got other areas of the business to kind of help elevate them and keep them along as well. And you also have the boutique firms, wide variety of those, and there are more and more every year. More often than not, these have some sort of industry specialty, right? So it's either going to be focused on healthcare, or it's going to be focused on, maybe smaller technological companies. So they're not always, I guess, focused on one particular area, but you do tend to see that more at the boutique levels. And the same goes for the other mid-sized firms as well. And then, of course, many folks go on after working for the big companies, they go on to become independent consultants as well. So next we're going to talk about, what skills will an MBA help you develop that'll help you move into a career in consulting. First of which is analytical skills. The problems that you'll work through with your case studies will really help with your quant. You're really elevating your ability to take data, understand it, and be able to formulate a solution based on and supported by that data to come up with a recommendation, which is, at the heart of what consultants are doing for their clients. Also in your MBA, you're going to get a lot of exposure as within leadership and in teamwork, which is incredibly important because in the consulting world, not only are you always needing to work as a team and lead your team, but I think you gain a lot of great insights on how to manage upwards, which is really important in terms of managing your career and managing the direction of your staffing as well. And as consultants, having extraordinary communication skills is really key, both written and verbal as well. So the presentation opportunities that you will get will really go a long way in helping you prepare to present to clients as well. And then, of course, through various internships, case competitions, you'll really develop a significant breadth of industry knowledge as well. So how do we prepare for a consulting career with an MBA? I think first and foremost is choosing the right MBA program for you. Focus on schools with ties to consulting firms. Some schools have stronger ties than others. You definitely want to look for a curriculum that has a case-based learning opportunities and get that real-world exposure. And I'd also encourage you to take geography and location into consideration as well. Most companies, when they are formulating their hiring goals or targets for the year, will allocate certain office allotments to the programs that they are recruiting from. So, for example, if your long-term goal is to work in Los Angeles, then I would not suggest going to an MBA program in New York. Most commonly, I can say that we are placing our graduates either in the state of Michigan or in Chicago, while we do place folks in other geographies as well. Those are definitely the most common. I can't stress enough how important your internship is when it comes to getting a career in consulting. And I say that because throughout all my years, I have always known every consulting firm to always hire interns. They have not always gone back and done second year full-time hiring. There are certain years where they are able to fulfill their full-time hiring needs from the prior year's internship class. So that is definitely the safest way in because, again, while the firms are always recruiting interns, there is no guarantee that they will come back and be recruiting for second year full-times. I'd also highly encourage you to explore some of the early ID recruiting opportunities. Some of these might be conferences. Some of these might be externships. Oftentimes, these can take place the summer before your program even begins. So it's never too early to start looking. I encourage you to explore those. And there is a website called Management Consulted, which has a combined list across pretty much all of the firms of every role they're hiring for, early ID programs that you can look into. And I encourage you to check out that calendar and make sure you're keeping yourself on the path for being prepared there. And also, research and decide which firm is the best for you. And, I'll get into that a little bit more as we talk about networking here, but you'll spread yourself too thin if you're just trying to, recruit for all of these different firms, whereas you'll find a lot more success if you find the few firms that you feel are the best fit for you from a culture perspective and really key in on those as well. I can't stress enough how important case interview preparation is. This is a core aspect of the consultant interview process and something that takes a lot of practice to perfect. When I'm working with our students on campus here, I encourage them to all do 50 practice cases prior to their first interview. There are other tools out there beyond just going through practice cases that can help you get better. Some of theirs are like drills on rocketblocks.com, other things like Management Consulted, which I mentioned previously. But I encourage you to get practice in casing both in person with another individual that knows what they are doing, and also get practice virtually as well, because more often than not, your first round interview is going to be done virtually. So you need to know how to work through a case and have those interactions in a virtual environment as well. And again, any MBA program that you're going into likely has resources available to you. More often than not, they are also available to you, prior to enrollment the summer before, because really it's practice early, practice often. I know 50 cases can sound very daunting, but if you're going to start practicing cases in, say, April or May, it becomes a lot easier to get those 50 out of the way before interviews come along. So I highly encourage you to do that as well. And then last, in terms of from a preparation standpoint, I can't stress enough how important networking is. I think early on in your search, you are completely fine to network with a lot of different firms as you're in the exploratory stage and trying to find that best fit for you. But as you move forward and progress in your search, it is so important that you are honing in on, in my opinion, I'd say 3 to 5 companies, because you don't want to narrow in too much and not give yourself an opportunity if one company doesn't work out. But within those 3 to 5 companies, you need to be networking and always trying to build the cohort, build the cohort. It's not enough to meet with 1 or 2 people at these firms. You need to develop a cohort of people, say 8 to 10 people that there that are willing to, hey, when your resume gets picked off the pile and it's time for a look, where you've got advocates inside there to say, hey, I spoke with this person, they were great, we really enjoyed the conversation, they'd be a great fit for us, and really just developing that internal advocacy to help you get the interview. So what does the kind of the career path look like post MBA? The titles can vary a little bit depending on the firm. More often than not, post MBA, it's either going to be a consultant or a senior consultant and an associate title at those top firms. And I will say, depending on, well, sorry, while most firms have a standard structure and role that you would come into as a post MBA, there are often exceptions to that based on what your experience might look like before the MBA. So in some instances, I've seen MBAs come in as, I guess, a consultant or a more junior level role. I've also seen people come in after their MBA as a manager as well. So really important to, as you're exploring the jobs and applying to jobs, figuring out what is the most appropriate one for you based off of your work experience. And then after a few years of development, you can look to grow into a senior consultant, manager, or even a principal or partner role. One thing I learned while working at Deloitte in my various roles there is the best way to get promoted is to be operating at the level above you. As you're taking on as much of your boss's responsibility as you can, that will certainly accelerate your promotions as well. And then we talked about this before, the exit opportunities that come from consulting as well. Having that ability for, second or for, 2 or 3 years out of school, you've worked for one company from a consulting perspective, but in reality, you've worked for 12 to 15 clients. Those are 12 to 15 companies that you've really opened significant doors into for to be able to exit if you're looking to get out of the industry as well. So with all that said, consulting, phenomenal career path, but there are definitely some challenges that you want to keep in mind as well. So work-life balance, prior to COVID, most firms operated on the standard 3-4-5 model, which meant 3 days in the office, 3 nights in a hotel, 4 days in the office, fifth day of the week, you'd be, three nights in a hotel, four days at a client, and then the 5th day at the office. That really subsided during COVID, but we're starting to see a return to that. And especially as you hear more about the RTOs and the return to office that the companies are having, the more companies bring their staff back into the office, the more consultants are going to need to be in the offices as well, because it's really those in-person interactions that you see that really help kind of sell the continued work and grow the scope of projects. So that's something that I expect to see here coming in probably in the next 6 to 18 months. Will be a more traditional return to that model. There's certainly very high expectations put on you in these roles. No, there's a lot of pressure to perform well, and but that just kind of comes along with the competitive environment. No one is going to pay you a lot of money to not work hard, so it is definitely offset from a compensation standpoint as well. And we'll have time for questions at the end. But before I hand it over to Kathleen, I just want to do a quick summary here of kind of the key takeaways here. And that is, the MBA is a great gateway into consulting. I would argue that it's probably the most senior chance that you have at breaking into consulting as a generalist, if you're still looking to explore working in different industries. Once you start to get a little bit removed from your MBA, most consulting firms will not hire people as generalists that can work in a lot of different areas. At that point, you're expected to bring a specific subject matter expertise and more SME type hiring, if you will. So again, please, make sure you're working your way through networking, making sure you're, putting in the time and effort to get to know those top firms, and then make sure that they're getting to know you as well. Can't stress enough how important it is to leverage those early ID programs and internships. Those those are the two best paths in, if you will, with those early ID programs often leading to internship offers, and then internship offers leading to full-time, because there's no guarantee that they'll be doing full-time hiring after your second year. The preparation really is key, and I would really like to emphasize how important it is that you're putting the work into your case preparation prior to or alongside with your networking, because as you're networking and getting to know these firms, they're getting to know you and they're looking to interview you. You want to make sure that you're ready for that interview opportunity when it comes to you. If you're just doing all the networking and none of the case prep, then you might be finding yourself in a situation where this is the door that you were able to open for yourself, but you're not ready to walk through it. So it really is really important to do all of that preparation on the front end and make sure that you are well prepared. So I think I do have one more slide for questions, but since we're taking those at the end, I will kick it over to Kathleen.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Adam, for your presentation. That was really insightful. And I'm sure you can see a lot of questions have come in, but I would request all the participants to please stay around till the end. Kate is now going to be speaking to us about the university, its programs and offerings, and we will take up questions post that. Thank you. Over to you, Kate.
All right, thank you. First of all, I want to thank you all for joining today. I found Adam's presentation really interesting myself. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the actual full-time MBA program at Michigan State University. Again, I am the Senior Associate Director of Admissions for the program. And so I'm excited to tell you about the benefits of coming to do your MBA at Michigan State University. So really quick overview of Michigan State. We are a very large university located in East Lansing, Michigan. We have about this year, I believe we're closer to 53,000 students in total on this campus, and 600,000 alumni throughout the world. Okay, so there are lots of Michigan State University alumni that you will find in every corner of the world, in every company in the world. We have a very vast alumni network. Within the College of Business, in our full-time MBA program, we currently have about 135 students, and at the Broad College of Business alone, we have over 80,000 alumni. So if you join the MBA program here at Michigan State, you will be joining a very strong network. And that, as Adam said, networking is very important to your career. So a little bit about our rankings. We are known very well for supply chain management, logistics. We are ranked #1, have been for about a decade now. As far as U.S. public universities go, in different rankings, Financial Times, we're #8, and for Forbes, we are #9. So this is a snapshot at our class of 2026 profile. So this will be our first year students right now. This is a 2-year MBA program. And so we do have one class of first years, one class of second years. And so right now in this first year class, there are 73 students. We do accept the GMAT. And so with the new GMAT scoring scale, with the GMAT focus, the median GMAT is a 625, average is 615. And then for GRE, our average is a 315. And then we typically have about, I would say most years you'll see students with about 4 years of post-bachelor's work experience coming in. Our average GPA is a 3.4. And we do boast a very diverse class of students. So we have 33% international students, almost 40% female, and then within the U.S. Student population, we have 33% students of color. So it is a small class size, and this is something that we find is important. We purposefully have a small class because we do want students to have a tailored experience. We believe it's important, again, to strengthen that network. And when you have a smaller class, you will get to know everybody in your cohort. You become kind of like a family throughout your 2 years in the MBA program. Professors will know you by name, even deans will know you by name, and you can participate in class discussions easier. So we do find having that smaller class size is beneficial to our students. And so within that small class, you still have a very diverse group of students to learn from and work alongside. So we do offer now 7 different concentrations within the MBA program. The sustainability and corporate social responsibility concentration is new as of this semester. So our main 4 are finance, HR, marketing, and supply chain management. Those are what we call our primary concentrations, meaning they can stand on their own. If you would like to do business analytics, entrepreneurship, or sustainability, one of those needs to be paired with one of those main 4 I just mentioned. So you can do 1 or 2 concentrations during your time in the program. I will mention that we do have a STEM designated curriculum track. And if you want STEM designated, which many international students do, you would have to choose between finance, marketing, and supply chain. Those are our 3 STEM designated concentration options. So as mentioned earlier in our introduction, we believe that hands-on experience and experiential learning is very important to our students. So we do offer that through a variety of formats. We have the Extreme Green workshops. You do one of these in each year of your MBA. Typically, this is going to be you solving a real life business problem. Typically, it would also be a company coming on campus, a large company, and they will be giving our students a problem that they are facing currently, and students will work in teams to come up with solutions and then present to the company. We offer different treks. Many of those are organized either through our student resource groups, where they might go to, for example, the Amazon warehouse or a Google headquarters. The career management team and the Palmer Center also offers treks both virtually and sometimes in person. We have a team leadership lab here at the business college. As Adam mentioned, the internship experience is probably the best way to get the hands-on experience. And many people are recruiting for this during their first year in order to do this between their first and second year in the summer. And then the global immersion is the other opportunity we offer to our students, which is essentially a study abroad, but it is usually about a week long. And the country that we go to each year is always different. So basically within that week, though, whatever country you're going to be visiting leading companies and industries in that country, learning about challenges that they're facing, how are they overcoming those challenges, best practices, and of course you get to do some sightseeing and tourism as well. It's a lot of fun. So again, the small class size is very important to us here at Michigan State, experiential learning. We also offer 16 different student resource groups to our students. They are all student-led. They are all led by e-boards that are elected, and they are our second-year students who are leading them. But you will see there's an MBA association. They're kind of like the overarching student government. They put together a lot of social events for our students. We have the DEI-focused resource group, so veterans, women, multicultural, which is more focused on international students. And then you have the professional development resource group. So each of the concentrations has a resource group, and then there's some others in there like consulting and entrepreneurship. So these are great ways to connect with students, like-minded students, and really get involved outside of the classroom and have additional networking and learning opportunities and social opportunities, because building that network and those memories throughout your time in the program is really important. And again, this will be kind of like your family for 2 years. So we really strive to give our students opportunities to connect outside of the classroom as well. So I'm sure, again, this is kind of what Adam does. He is on our Russell Palmer Career Management Center team, but they have your back throughout your time in the MBA. So we do offer personal and professional career development for our students. They are there to help you sharpen your business acumen, work on your interview skills, practice for those case-based interviews, networking, connect you with alumni. They bring companies on campus, they have corporate partners. So they will be there to help you through your recruiting journey during your 2 years in the MBA program, both for your internship as well as your full-time job offer if you do not receive the offer directly from your internship company. And again, we do have a very vast alumni network, and they are a great resource for getting you in touch with that alumni network and making those introductions as well. So again, the alumni connection is a piece of that. the other piece of the career management team is that you will have a career coach to work with. You can set meetings with them as much as you'd like. They're there, again, to work with you on your goals, on your plan for recruitment, and honing your interview skills, sharpening, your resume, making everything look great and ready to go for your recruiting journey. And then one thing I did not mention yet too is the peer mentor. So they do have a group of second-year students, MBA students, who have been successful in recruiting for their internship and completing an internship, and generally all around are just very knowledgeable and skilled as far as the recruiting piece goes. And so they are there working with the Career Management Center to be mentors for our first-year students, giving them advice and guidance. So those are the ways that we support you through the career management team here at Broad College of Business. So here is a quick snapshot of the hiring companies and employment stats for the class of 2024. So our latest class to graduate. So you will see, typically this is very typical of what you might see represented in one of our as far as recruitment companies and industries go. So you will typically see a lot of tech, you will see a lot of consulting, you will see a lot of automotive. So here in Michigan, we're very close to Detroit. Here at Michigan State University, it's about an hour from us, and that is the hub of the automotive sector. So you'll see General Motors, Ford as well. Toyota is here represented as well. And then you'll typically see some consumer goods, like PepsiCo, oil and gas is represented as well. But we do surprisingly have a very large number of alumni that go into tech. So we are, I believe, the second, so we have the second most number of alumni in the tech sector of any MBA program, after Foster, which is in Seattle on the West Coast, which makes sense. But here, we're here in the Midwest, and we do very well in the tech sector. So, and then again, consulting, typically about a third of our students each year go into a consulting role. So I know many of you that are on the call today are probably interested in consulting. So this year, 87% of our students were employed within 3 months of graduating. It's looking like we're gathering data for 6 months out, and that's looking like it's about 92%, but that's not finalized yet. So 6 months out, 92% were employed. And our average starting salary is about $120,000. So this is also typically a very important piece of the presentation. A lot of people want to know about funding. So we do offer funding. Everything is merit-based to our students. If you are admitted, you will automatically be considered for these funding opportunities. We offer them in the form of scholarships, fellowships, and graduate assistantships. And then also we do give in-state tuition waivers. So for example, we would give an international student in-state tuition rather than the out-of-state or international, as you can see here on the left side. That's saving you over $20,000 per year. So scholarships typically will range anywhere from, on the lower end, $4,000 to $5,000 per year, up to a full ride or full tuition scholarship. And then, as I mentioned, we do have graduate assistantships. Those could also be paired with scholarships. So you might get a combination of these. But again, everything is merit-based. And I did mention earlier the GMAT and GRE exams. I know a lot of people typically want to know if they are required. They are not. They are optional, but I highly, highly, highly recommend that you take one and you work hard to get a good score, because ultimately that is going to help set your application apart from others. And if you have a good score, that will set you up for more funding as well. So the stronger your application, the more money that you will receive. So again, yes, GMAT GRE is optional, but I really recommend you try taking that test if you have the time and the resources. So we are now going into our third application round. I know maybe everyone on the call is an international student. So this is our final deadline for international applicants, February 17th. That is round 3. If you're interested in possibly applying for another year, so maybe fall of 2026, I can't even keep what year it is. Okay, we're in 2025 now. So fall 2026, applications will open in August. So, if you're thinking for the future and you want to get in on an earlier round, typically August 1st is when we open the application for the following year. So we have one intake per year, always in the fall. This is the admissions team. I'm here in the middle. Kara Trippi is our director of admissions. On the right is Beth. She typically does all the application processing and documentation and things like that. So feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions. General questions, I would suggest sending to that top email, mba@msu.edu. And because you attended the webinar today, you will be getting an application fee waiver if you choose to apply to Michigan State University's full-time MBA program. I will basically put this in the system, and it should automatically, if you use the same email address that you used to sign up for this webinar, if you use that to start an application, it should skip the payment for you, okay? And it will be automatic. You don't need a code or anything. So thank you so much, and I will turn it back over to Sabahat.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kate. Thank you so much for that amazing presentation. Quite a few questions which have come in. Himanshu, I'm going to start off with you because Kate just answered your question about the application fee waiver. Yes, you are eligible for one, and I hope you've registered with your email ID, which you're going to be using to apply to the school. Once you do that, the waiver should work automatically. I hope that helps. Okay, with that, I'm going to dive right into a lot of questions which have come in. I'll start with the one which is usually on the top of a lot of students' mind about what is the minimum work experience that would be sort of required for someone who's looking to pursue an MBA at the Broad College of Business. Also, in the same breath, would you accept anyone without any prior work experience?
Yes, so that's a great question. I will say that applications for our program have become increasingly competitive. Like, it's grown every year, our applications double. So, I mean, we've seen an immense growth. And as you see, though, we still have a small class size, even though we receive more applications. So it's becoming more competitive. And so, honestly, without any work experience, you probably would not even make it to the interview stage. So we first, look at all the applications we receive, and then we decide who goes to the interview stage, which is typically only maybe half of our applications. And so in order to stand out, as I mentioned, having a strong application in more ways than just the GMAT score or your GPA, having that work experience, I would maybe argue is the most important piece. So we can be a little bit flexible on GPA. We could be flexible on the test score, but that work experience, I would suggest as an international student where it is the most competitive for admission, maybe 3 years out from bachelor's degree is best to be competitive. I personally think 4 years out is a sweet spot. That seems to be a really good time to do an MBA, and that's where we see a lot of success as far as your post-MBA career and recruiting goes. The people with 4 years it's a really good spot in your career, I think, to do an MBA. Adam might have more information on that because that is his job. But yes, I would not apply if you don't have the work experience yet. We will be here. You can always apply and wait. Just get that work experience in. And again, 3 years would probably be safe to wait to have to apply for the program.
Right. Thank you, Kate. Adam, anything that you would like to add on to that?
Yeah, I would just say, beyond the admission standpoint, the more work experience you have coming into your MBA just exponentially increases your job prospects coming out of your MBA as well. So, and when I talked earlier about how you can come in at a variety of levels, regardless, you can have the same degree and come in at a variety of levels. That's all going to be based off of your prior work experience.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kate. Thank you, Adam. Anuran and Amir, I hope that answers your questions. So keep at it, get some work experience before you sort of apply. Like Kate mentioned, there's always a chance you can apply to the next intake as well. I'm going to move on to my next question, which has come in. This is something which we get to hear a lot. Kate, this one's for you from Simran. Do you all accept a 3 years undergraduate degree? As you know, in India, a lot of the students only have a 3-year undergraduate degree. So is that something which is acceptable at your end?
Yes, I mean, it's not ideal because we have to go through some extra hoops on our end. I will say if you have the 3-year degree and then you have any master's degree on top of that, that automatically, will add up to 4 years and that's no problem. We don't even have to do any extra authorization on our end. But yes, I mean, we do have students who do have a 3-year degree. I I will say definitely still apply and then we'll work through what we need to work through. If you have a strong application, otherwise, we still want you in our program, right? So yes, the short answer is yes, we do accept it.
Thank you. Thank you. Simran, I hope that answers your question, and for the others as well who have sort of the same question on their mind. There's a quick hi, go green from a former alumni who's also part of this session. Nikunj Agarwal is saying, go green. So, yeah, thank you so much,
Wait.
Nikunj.
Like,
Thank you so much for joining us. That's very sweet of you. I'm going to quickly move on to my next question. Kate, you mentioned that the round 3 application deadlines are now open. And of course, a relevant question on a lot of students' minds are what are their chances of getting into if they were to apply in round 3, considering that they are international students?
I will be honest, it's certainly lower than if you were to apply in early or sorry, we got rid of our early round. We just have round 1 now. Round 1, 2, 3, and 4. So round 1 is obviously going to be the best chance. Now I will say it's not impossible. And the other thing is it will be free for you to apply, so it can't hurt to try, right? But if you're really hoping for the best chance and you don't want to have to apply twice and you just rather would try once, I personally would wait until round 1 for next cohort. So again, that would open in August. But we'll admit some international students in round 3 for sure. But really, the farther you wait, whether you're international or domestic, right? Like the class is filling up. We already have admitted, let's see, we're going to be admitting round 2 right now. So, we've got maybe more than half the class filled at this point. So, yeah, I always encourage people, if you feel like it's a good time for you to apply and you're ready, then apply, right? It can't hurt. And again, you have an application fee waiver. And I will say too, in general, just advice is apply when it's best for you, when you can put forward your best application. So anyone who feels like they're rushing with 1 year of work experience and I don't have time to take the GMAT, don't do it. It's just do it when it's best for you and when it makes sense in your career and when you can put your best foot forward. So, it really, as Adam said, the more work experience you have, the better. So it can't hurt to wait to wait a little bit longer, right? So yeah, I don't want to discourage people from applying in round 3, but I will be honest about, better chances are round 1.
Yeah,
for sure.
Sure. Thank you so much, Nidisha. I would suggest go ahead and apply. Piece of the pie is still available. There's always next year where you can go in for the next round. Moving into a couple of more questions as we go along. Adam, I think I'll take the next one for you. From Aryan, who wants to know, and a lot of students who also have attended this session, a common thread that I've seen is, what if someone has no prior work experience in the consulting industry per se, and are yet sort of interested in pursuing an MBA? What are their chances of getting into an MBA, getting into consulting post an MBA?
yes, I would actually say that most folks that are hired coming out of an MBA program do not have prior consulting experience. It's actually very few that do. I do think it's going to be hard to get a job in consulting with an MBA with no work experience, but it definitely does not need to be in consulting. And like I mentioned earlier, the more of it that you have, the better. I would guess these are going to be some rough numbers, but when I was doing MBA recruiting at Deloitte, I would guess probably 5% of the folks I was hiring actually had prior consulting experience. So, I mean, more often than not, an MBA is being used as a means to make a career transition or pivot. And, the MBA is certainly a good way to pivot into consulting.
Great, great. Thank you, Adam. Quite a few of you had that question. I'm going to take a few names. Shrishti, Hamza, I hope that sort of answers your question. Getting into the next one, Um, we've spoken about GMAT, GRE, we've spoken about work experience. A, a lot of students here who have sort of joined in today come from non-traditional backgrounds. So you can say this people who've done their undergrad in humanities or from some STEM designated courses or otherwise. What are their chances of getting into MSU Broad? Kate, if you could shed some light onto what kind of a student profile would you all be looking at?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I will say that we are open to all different backgrounds. And we believe that that's something that really is beneficial for your peers, right? So when you are exposed to diverse experiences and opinions, and ways of looking at things and approaches to problems, this is what comes, you get this from a diverse background as far as industry goes as well. So really, as far as business goes, only on an average year, 25% have a business background coming into the MBA. The other probably third of the class or more is STEM. So we do have a lot of engineers coming into our program. And I will say that's probably mostly because of our supply chain management, our rankings and having the strong supply chain management program. A lot of people make that switch from engineer to like logistics, operations, and supply chain management. So again, a huge chunk of that is engineers. We have scientists. And then the other part is a mixed bag. So humanities, we have teachers, we have lawyers, we have doctors, we have nurses, we have artists, we have musicians. So really, there's no background that we would say no to. It's up to you to explain to us, though, in your application, how that background fits with what you would like to accomplish in the MBA program and beyond. So explain that journey to us. Explain how did you, first of all, decide that you wanted to do an MBA, being an artist? Or I remember I interviewed a fashion designer and she wanted to come in and she did, and came in and wanted to focus more on procurement, right? Procurement of materials for, the clothing and the fashion industry and retail. And so if you can just make those pieces connect in our mind as well and explain how you've come to this decision of wanting an MBA and how will you take that pre-MBA experience and apply that to the MBA program and share those experiences with your peers and then use that for this post-MBA career, whatever that looks like to you. So just clearly explain that thought process and that journey to the admissions officers and you'll be good, right? So I actually get really excited when I see somebody that has a non-traditional background applying. Yeah. I'm so excited to hear their story and how they plan to make this career switch. And yeah, I think that brings a lot to our class. So don't worry if you don't have a business background.
Great, thank you. Kate, sort of building on to that, we spoke about how everyone needs to personalize their story, say it in a different way. Are there any other tips that you could share with students who are on the call today about how to sort of make their applications unique and standing out, and at the same time ensure that they have a strong chance of being in the race?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a great question. It is tough, I understand. But I will say we are reviewing applications as humans, so we don't have any type of AI that's going through that. So I can assure you that we are looking. So I suggest you leave your resume to one page. That is, and highlight the most important parts of your career, of your accomplishments, and a little bit at the bottom about your interests and who you are as a person. So I do like to actually, when I interview people, I focus in on that. I guess people put it as hobbies or interests, because I want to know who you are as a person too, right? Yeah. So again, keeping that resume to one page is going to be so important, though, when we don't have much time to go through an application, right? So really get that in front of our faces and our eyes as best you can, and quantify your accomplishments. So that will always help on your resume. I grew this account by X%, or I had a budget of this amount of dollars and, did this with it. So using numbers and quantifying accomplishments is going to help you as well. But I will say on an interview side, if you get through to the interview, again, I like to focus in on that part about who you are, because I find that makes people kind of let their guard down a little bit. I see almost like a relief on someone's face where I say, "Oh, I see you like to travel. Like, tell me about your favorite country you've ever been to, or favorite place." And because I've seen on your resume where you work, I've seen where you go to school. Great. I would like to talk about it a little bit, but my job is to make sure that you're a good fit for this program, your personality, your goals, your communication skills, your soft skills. Are you coachable? Do you work well with others? So it's not just about what you've done as far as your career goes. It's about who you are as a person and your soft skills. So I use the interview part to get to know you. So do your best I know it's easier said than done. Don't be too nervous, and just be yourself, because that usually makes for a really good interview, in my opinion.
Thank you, Kate. That was really insightful. One last thing before I sort of close the loop on this from someone in the Q&A itself. Can you shed some insight about their letters of recommendation? A lot of times students struggle with, should I get a letter of recommendation from my boss versus my colleague, or should I get it from a professor in my university? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so a couple of things. First of all, I suggest having at least one professional. Okay, let me restart. We prefer professional references over academic. If you must have a professor academic reference, please at least have one professional. Okay, so again, the preference would be two professionals. So we require two in the application, and actually we don't need a letter written. All we need is for you to put their name, email, and phone number, I believe is what we asked for. And then we send them automatically. The system triggers a form that they have to fill out, answering questions about you. So it will say, so-and-so has requested a recommendation from you. Please fill out this form. So you would just need to, on your end, tell them to keep an eye out for that. And I know, as far as, if you ask your manager or your boss, or a colleague, we understand that many people's bosses may not know that they're planning to leave to do an MBA. So that would be an awkward conversation to have and ask them for recommendation. If you can, great. But if not, that's not a problem. If you have a past manager or boss that you can ask for, that is also great. And if you don't have a manager or boss that you can ask, a colleague is good. I've even had people that, like entrepreneurs that work with certain vendors or partners, they've done their recommendation letters. I would just say, please, like, no friends, no family members, for sure. But yeah, I'd say, again, professional preferred over academic, and then if you can find at least one of those to be a supervisor in some capacity, great. But also, if not possible, don't worry.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kate, for answering all of those questions. Adam, moving on to you, a lot of students in the Q&A box want to know how exactly, can you talk a little bit about the support services or the communities which are available for international students coming onto campus? How do you sort of help putting them in the right place at the right time when it comes to placements or job fairs, etc.?
Yeah, so I will say I don't like the term placement, because that sounds like we're getting the job for you, which we're not. We are here to support you and your journey every step of the way, whether that be our graduate whether that be our graduate assistant coaches. We also have peer coaches that were mentioned as well, various clubs and organizations. Like from my standpoint, I actually am the faculty mentor for the Broad Consulting MBA Club, which does both case competitions, treks, a lot of work around just that career or that case preparation that we talked about. They facilitate a lot of that as well. So we have a really nice infrastructure in place to enable you to build out your toolkit. But again, I do want to stress that it is your journey that we are here to support, and not a place job.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Adam. Sort of building on to that question itself, some of the students want to know how can they ensure? So let's say they're coming in from work experience in India. What they want to know is that once they do their MBA there, would those 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years of work experience hold some weightage in the US, or would they be starting off from scratch?
It's definitely valued. I wouldn't say it's starting off from scratch whatsoever. It is all valued experience. I will say there, if you're looking at going into consulting, there is definitely a keenness on having worked for larger companies as well. So I would say, I don't want to say that there's necessarily a bias for that, but I know it is looked upon very favorably considering these consultancies are all very large environments. It's helpful when you've been able to demonstrate that you've been successful in a large company environment as well.
Great, great, Adam. My next question that I'm going to take is from Vansh, Adam, again for you is there is a lot of buzz about, creating your personal brand, building meaningful connections and defining one's own network as such. So what Vansh wants to know is how does the Russell Palmer Career Center help a particular student create their own personal brand as such and help them in building these holistic and wholesome connections?
Yeah, so I think a lot of what we do is just coaching on the communications and outreach, especially when it comes to networking. While we have a great network, it can be difficult sometimes as everybody's really busy to capture the attention of folks, and we really help people capture the attention of that network that's available to them and help create those meaningful relationships that are long term and not transactional. And we do a lot of coaching around that to make sure that the outreach is intentional, engaging, and that it's a continued networking conversation and relationship building versus just a transactional setting. So there's a lot of different coaching pieces and tools that we have. One of our classes, MBA 43, is all about career preparation and career management. So we put a lot of tools in place there.
Great, great. My next question, of course, is around students who want to know whether they will have opportunities to, let's say, work on capstone projects, any case studies or projects that students have worked in the past in, thereby helping them gain some real world experience before they sort of go out again into the job market.
I guess being new here, I'm not well equipped enough to speak to what is included in our curriculum. So I don't know, Kate, do you have a perspective on that?
Yeah, I have some insight into it. We do not do a capstone project.
Okay.
Again, as mentioned in the presentation that I did, we have those hands-on expertise, I'm sorry, the experiential learning opportunities through the treks, through the extreme green workshops. I do know that absolutely within the classroom, they are doing case studies for sure. But I'd say again, outside of the classroom, it's going to be more of the workshops and the treks where you're, oh, and the team leadership lab. I will explain what that is for just a second, because I think it's really cool. Our business pavilion, the Minskoff Pavilion, was built just a few years ago. And so it was really built with our MBAs in mind. The MBAs are kind of the VIPs of this amazing building. I suggest you Google it because it is a beautiful, beautiful building. And so at the top floor, there's an MBA lounge that only MBAs can get into, and it overlooks the Red Cedar River and our beautiful campus. The team rooms, so where people meet to do projects, and you can sign them out. MBAs have priority over everybody else in the college as far as like the undergrads and the other master's students. They get priority on signing out those rooms. But the other thing that was built with our MBAs in mind is the team leadership lab. This is on the top floor, and it is mostly led by our professor, John Hollenbeck, and his PhD students. The way that it's set up is a room with a bunch of different breakout rooms in it. And in each of those rooms, there is a camera overlooking, so the professor can watch how people are working in teams, essentially, right?
Right.
And so the teams they go into the lab and they are given a problem to solve. It could be a business problem. Sometimes it's even a military exercise or problem. It varies. And so then you work together with your team to solve this problem while the professor and PhD students are kind of watching your interactions, your communication skills, your leadership skills, and then critiquing and giving you feedback. So again, this is one of the ways where you are, again, getting hands-on experience, and I think people enjoy it. It's a lot of fun too. So just again, there are different ways that we give students those opportunities, but no, we do not do a capstone project. I do know that, so.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kate. Looking at the time, I know my last two questions before I sort of let you go for today. One is from Raghav. He wants to know that keeping in mind the highly diverse grading system, even within Indian universities, in some universities, a 2.8 might GPA might be considered very high ranking GPA, whereas in others, a 3.8 might be the highest. So, what exactly is it that you do to sort of ensure that you are getting the right, sort of metric for the students who apply?
So first, I will say we don't accept any third-party transcript evaluation. So don't go and pay for that to be done because we
Yeah.
can't even accept it. So we do all of that in-house. We have an understanding of different transcripts from all over the world. We also have the Department for International Students and Scholars that we work alongside to verify transcripts. And then they will, of course, tell us what that is in a 4-point GPA scale. Now I will say when we come to admissions committee, and I did mention this earlier, that GPA we can be flexible on. It's more the work experience that is not as easy to be
Yes.
flexible on. So there's lots of ways if you do have a lower GPA to overcome that. And I would suggest taking a GMAT or GRE as an example to work to get a good score on that to show improvement. But also something we do, because we are reviewing this as humans, not like AI, we will look at somebody's major, right? So if you had a chemical engineering degree versus well, in the US, it would be an English degree. That's typically pretty an easier thing to accomplish.
Yes.
We will give more leniency to somebody who has a very difficult degree, right? Or we might be able to pinpoint spots in your transcripts where you obviously struggle with one subject, right? Or maybe you had a really rough semester and we think maybe this person had a personal issue they were working with through during this time, right? So we try to look at everything as humans. If there is something like that though, that can be pinpointed, like something happened during your studies that you do want us to know about, we have an optional essay in the application where you can do that, okay? If you're comfortable sharing. So, again, it depends on what your major is too. So we understand like that some are more difficult than others. And so we will have that in mind when reviewing your application.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kate. My last question before I let go of you is uh, the affordability factor in Michigan. As an international student coming in from India, uh, how affordable do you think it is? What are some of the options that are available for international students who come into campus? Can they take up jobs, part-time jobs, the living situation? If you could talk a little bit briefly about that, that would be really helpful.
Yes. So Michigan and specifically East Lansing is one of the more affordable states in the United States. So certainly you are in a better spot than if you were to be going to New York, any of the big cities, first of all, those are super expensive. California is very expensive. Texas is very expensive nowadays too. I don't know, Adam, I can't remember, you might have something to add in about other places in the country, but we are very much more affordable than most places in the country. So that is a good thing to start with. Secondly, I will say there are a lot of affordable options for housing around campus for students. We have an abundance of apartments all over the area. Feel like they're building a new one every single day. But we also do have on-campus dormitories for graduate students. We have meal plans for students. We have on-campus apartments as well. Those are a bit, I will be honest, they have usually waiting lists and you might not be able to get in your first year, but maybe your second. They're very popular. They should build more of those. And a lot of our international students live out in a place called Chandler Crossings. I think I've heard it's like about, if you're sharing an apartment with some other students, maybe 500 a month per person per room. We do provide a housing guide though for our students that are admitted, and it puts together data from where all of our MBA students are living and the towns that are surrounding East Lansing and what's affordable and what apartment complexes we suggest and don't, and there are ratings and there are prices. So we do provide information about that. And then I will also say that you can work on campus as an international student in any capacity. So you might be given a graduate assistantship as part of your admissions offer, but if you are not, once you're here on campus, you can look for external graduate assistantships that are not through the MBA program. There are plenty that come up all throughout the year. And secondly, you can work as like in the dining halls and the residence halls, as I think some people work at like some of the desks throughout campus. I mean, this is a huge campus. As you saw, we have 53,000 students and tons of colleges and departments. So if you as an international student are able to work legally, like as far as your visa goes, on campus through the university in any way. And then of course, during your internship in the summer, you are able to you have permission to do that and make money during that internship. So those are what you will be allowed. Those are the ways that you're allowed to legally make money here as an international student.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kate. Thank you, Adam. I know we've gone slightly over time, so I'm going to end this session for today. I know quite a few questions which are still there, but we have answered most of it. And of course, Kate was kind enough to share her details earlier on. In case if you still have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to us at Seed Global Education as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. You have been a wonderful audience. Once again, thank you, Adam, for your time and the lovely presentation, and Kate for your time, presentation, and for answering all of these questions. Good night, and we look forward to catching up with you soon. Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Bye.